All right, looks like everything is good to go, working as expected. So welcome, I'm Josiah from MQuad here. We're going to be continuing on from the last video where we started the public announcement of the loss of a seal. I dropped a comment. So what we're going to do is, we'll back up here. So for starting out, for those of you that are new here, what I'm doing is I'm doing Sumerian practice. So we're going to attested sources and getting the transliterations, which is what you see on the screen displayed here. This is a transliteration. And then I am working on practicing my Sumerian translations. I've been doing Sumerian for, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 months now. It's kind of hard to keep track when exactly I started. But I'm going through and I'm practicing these translations using these attested transliterations. Give me a second here. So this is very informal. I'm not, this is not a claim of any academic certainty. I would be doing this on my own if I wasn't streaming this. So I just figured might as well make some content and stream my practice at the same time so you guys can watch me in the learning process. And gals, whoever is tuning in. So methodology I'm going to be using here, we're going to be using the transliteration from the ETCSL. And then I'll be cross-checking it with the actual translation that they have on the website, which I did not realize they had, and that's what we're going to go back and address in a minute. My methodology is I'm going to be using my knowledge of Sumerian combined with, I don't have Edzard down here with me today, but I have Foxfog's manual handy, and I have a whole bunch of flashcards on my phone, so I'll probably reference some of those as well. And then I'm also using an annotated Sumerian dictionary from Mark Cohen to look up words that I don't know, which will be a lot because the Sumerian vocab is very, very dense, and there's a lot of repeated words or syllables for the same sign. So all that being said, that's going to be the methodology that we use here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at lines 1 and 2 briefly, and then knock out line 3 and maybe line 4. And that's kind of the meat and potatoes of this here. As you can see, the green is, I'm not going to mouse over because it'll give you what the answer is. But the green is like usually like proper nouns, like names or locations or stuff like that. So a lot of this bottom stuff here is just attestation, like right here, Debsar, this is scribe. Yep, see it right there, scribe. So this is just telling us that Sidu is the scribe that wrote this tablet. And then, different titles. I'm not familiar with all of these. So 7 through 11 is just a bunch of lists of names and who did what. So I don't know if we're going to do this entire thing in the series. We may hop over to another tablet or something in the near future. But that's just kind of my methodology and brief explanation there for you all. I need my caffeine. Learning a lot of languages and good quality caffeine helps keep me fueled. I'm not sponsored by Guru in any way, but I mean, maybe I should explore that in the future. But anywho, all right. So let's talk about lines 1 and 2 here. The translation we got last time, a seal written with the name Erdan the merchant. He shouted out a word coming from the assembly. So I left a comment on that part 3 stream explaining it here, but we can actually get the translation here, and I'm not going to try not to look at the rest here. I'm going to copy this and just paste it actually, so that way risk seeing something that gives me a hint for the practice here. So seal inscribed with the name of Erdan. So this is pretty much spot on, the merchant. So the problem here that I ran into last time was with the compound verb, where it had a nounal element attached to it. So this is, Sumerian verbs are usually always, there may be nuance there, but I was taught always at the end of a sentence. So this is the verb and the verbal chain right here that encodes information like this is either, this is third person non-person, this is third person individual like human agent, and then the ba prefix noted by Edzard is either locative or dative, which cross-references to the ra or ah here that we get for merchant, which is either locative or dative, depending on the context and everything here. All of this is noted right here. But the problem I ran into last time and why I was shouted out, and they was lost, is that Ugu, so I'll write this out here so it actually makes sense. So when you have a verbal element, you get Ugu, and then you can have some other stuff, and then you have day 2. The Sumerian has a lot of compound verbs like this, where there's a there's a nounal element, and then there's the prefix chain stuff, and then there's the verbal root. And when combined, it can change the meaning of the verb. And I missed that in Mark Cohen did have it listed. It was just under a different entry than I was looking at. But was lost is the proper translation here. And then just to rehash a little bit, this B cross-references the kisib, the seal. The N cross-references the agent here, Erdun the merchant. So Erdun, and then Damgar is the Erdun the merchant. Damgar is merchant. And then the Ugu and De pair together to form the was lost. So that was a correction from last time. And then let's take a look at the next section here. In accordance with the word of the assembly, so word of the from the assembly. So the in accordance with is the, I think that's what's called the ablative usage, which ta can mean from, or it can be ablative. It's either ablative or instrumental. I think I forget the specific nuance. I struggle with grammatical terminology. Some of this stuff I intuit versus memorizing, the proper terms. But what we have here is the ta, which is either from, or it means like with, in accordance with, and so I mistranslated it there as from, but in accordance with the word of the assembly. So there's lines 1 and 2. Now we'll take a crack at lines 3 and maybe lines 4 here. I'm just going to copy this in because once you mouse over something, it reveals what the answer is, and I want to try to do this as proper practice and not get too much help here, do it the right way. Caffeine break. All right. So here we have nier, E, and then it has, this is usually an ergative marker, which means that whoever this person title is, since it doesn't have a, again, try not to look at it. Since it doesn't have the green highlight on it, I'm going to say it's not a proper noun. This is a title description. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start thumbing through the dictionary here and working on translation. If any of you are into, like, hearing pages turn and that calms you down, then, just do that kind of thing. For some people, it's like a relaxation thing, maybe. I don't know. All right, Nier is herald, which we can cross-check that in a little bit, but so we have heralds, but now E, ergative marker. So next thing we have, I can already tell a couple things about this right off the bat. This is going to be, I think, locative, number 1, because of the A, because they added an extra A for emphasis there. I don't think it's either locative or dative. Let me look that up real quick, actually, in my flashcards, because now I'm second guessing. All right. Yeah, locative is just the A ending, in, at, or on. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. So we already know that this is going to be locative. Sila. That's reduplication in Sumerian is for emphasis, usually. So we can already tell that there's going to be emphasis here, and this is probably just one word going here. Give me a second, sorry. All right. Just one word that's reduplicated for emphasis. So let's find Sila. All right. Street. That seems to fit here with what we're talking about. So street times 2. So this would likely convey like all of the streets. And then here we have what is kind of hinting potentially, it kind of looks similar to what we had up here. This is probably another nounal element joined to the verbal chain here for guvra. And then this is all of our prefix stuff that we can hash out in a moment. All right. So we want gu3. So we're going to go find that. And then see what's listed under that entry for verbal chain elements and see if we spot anything. Again, for those of you that are tuning in, if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out. I do have the chat open, but this is just some live Sumerian practice here, decoding a tablet that's on the ETCSL with my own translation attempts. All right ballpark. All right, Gu 3 on its own standard form is noise. Let's see what I can find in terms of compound usage for Gura. Sorry if this is a little dry here. I'm trying to skim all the entries. Gura, to make a noise. Yep, there we go. So this is a verbal nounal verb chain here for to make noise. Which it's interesting because Gu 3 is like voice or word, I think, as well, depending on the nounal or verbal usage of it. So you can see that there's a lot of pairs that kind of build off of each other in this sense. So then let's take a crack at this verbal chain. So we've got the third person non-person here for B, and then we also have that ba. Okay, let's slow this down. So for the ba, that according to Edzard is a third non-person locative dative prefix, which the third non-person element crosses probably streets here. That's what it's talking about. And then that A for that locative dative, it's a locative usage here, and that cross-references the A at the end here. So then we have the ni, which cross-references the herald, the nier. And then let's see. This last N here is probably just a chain for flow. So I'm gonna say it's probably just like something that's negligible in terms of like it's not encoding any meaning. It's just an extra consonant or sign that's put there to help the whole chain flow a little bit more. But yeah, all right. So translation for this sentence. The herald. So I'll explain this here. In Sumerian, there's no definite article, so that's kind of on the discretion of the translator if there's a the or not present. I'm going to include that here just for the sake of this section, and then we'll see if it fits when we put everything else together. The herald, we'll say announced. I feel like that kind of communicates the idea of what's going on here, because heralds are usually heralding something, announcing something. Announce in all the streets, and then we'll jump over to line 4 because that was actually pretty quick. All right, line 4. Okay, that's annoying. I don't know if anyone else gets annoyed by the changing fonts there, but no, that's going to annoy me like crazy. So let's get that situated. There we go. Okay. Lu 2 is person. Name is either I'll skip looking this one up because I do remember this one from Foxvog's manual, but this can either be like someone, anyone, or no one. So in context here, I'm going to say probably anyone. Ni 2. That one I'm going to have to look up. Probably thing, but I want to make sure I'm remembering that correctly. And then again, once I'm done here, this one won't be a long live, I don't think, today. But once I'm done here, we'll go cross-check this with the entire translation and see how I did today. Ni 2 is container. Let's see what other usages they have. Yeah, thing. Okay. I'm going to go, since that lines up with what I remembered from my flashcards and other attempts at this. We'll go with thing, any, name again. I'm going to say it probably has a little bit of flexible usage here for anyone, anything. So we're going to go with that. Uguna, that one I don't know. Again, we'll flip to it and we'll see if there's anything that matches up to, because if there's a nounal verbal chain here, this would probably be what it is right here compared with this. So yeah, we'll look that up and then go from there for the verbal root. The verbal root is tuku. I forget what exact. I think that's like to do maybe, but we'll see in a minute here. I'll cross check it. Okay. Uguna. We're probably looking for ugun here. And that's just vegetable. That doesn't seem to fit, and that's not the right signs either. Let's see. Let me peruse around here for a minute. So it does seem similar to the ugu that we had here, but I don't. Secondary meaning topmost part, and it has the same signal usage here. I'm gonna go off of a hunch, and we're gonna say since this ugu can be top or skull, or even topmost part, at the topmost, inferring like at the topmost of the matter, because that seems to fit context here. All right. Now, I'm gonna flip into Foxfog real quick. Verbal chain. Lee is a negative for not. Luckily, I just went over that Sumerian Foxfog, so. Well, let's do tuku first as the verbal root, and then we can break down the chain. I have a feeling 3 is pretty much spot on. Line 4, we may be a little bit off. If anyone knows Sumerian in the chat's better than me, feel free to chime in. But this is just practice. All right, to shake, for tuku, to collapse, to depart, to weave, soften. None of these seem quite right. I think Cohen had a weird nuance here where he didn't quite capture the root meaning of tuku, because I have tried this translation before a while, like a week or two ago. Let me see if I can find something in one of my other. Nice thing is with all these language dictionaries is that they usually have a concordance in the back, even if it's not as exhaustive as like a, this thick of a book right here. So, see if we can find tuku. I hope that Hayes has it. I think it's to do, but I don't remember that off the top of my head, and I want to try to get that right. To have, get, marry. Yes, he has it. So I think have fits a little bit more here, so we'll say have for tuku, and then let's break down that verbal chain there. All right. So the li is a negation, so not have. And then and then the B2 in. So again, this is the B probably cross-referencing the third, non-person cross-referencing anything, and then the N crosses the third person, so that means it's cross-referencing anyone right there. And then that's pretty much the whole verbal chain. So we have the B, we have the N, we have the conjoining vowels, we have negation, and then we have the verbal root. So translation attempt officially. Let me take a sip of caffeine before I try this. Anyone has anything? That would be my thought. Anyone who does not have anything at the foremost, because again, that negation's kind of weird. I'm not expecting that, but that is what it's glossed as according to Foxfog. So this is what the herald is actually announcing here. So there's our translation for line 3 and our translation for line 4. So what I'll do at this point is I'm just going to cross-check it with the actual answer set. All right. So we'll just copy paste this in. The herald sounded the horn through all the streets. So, oh yeah, I missed that sign right there. Whoops. So that's probably where horn comes from. Let's check that actually. Mouse over it. Yep, horn. Okay, that tracks. All right. So the herald with his horn announced in all the streets. The herald sounded through a horn throughout all the streets. Yeah, if you factor in that I missed that one sign, that's pretty much spot on. No one now has anything, any claim against him. Okay, let's see. How are they to have no person, anything, thing, anything. I wonder if this is another co-joined nounal verb element that we have here, actually. Let me take one quick peek at this here, and then we'll probably wrap up for the day. But again, this is why I'm doing it. It's practice, and y'all get to watch me practice. See that I'm not perfect at my Sumerian. All right. Trying to see if there's anything with ugu or ugu natuku. That N may be an after, an ad for there to be a locative element or something attached to it, or a what is it? Yeah, a locative element attached to it. So. Alright, let's see if there's an ugu tuku. It takes a hot second to thumb through all of these entries here. I'm not seeing any ugu tukus, but yeah, I'm not seeing. Trying to make it interesting while I'm skimming entries here, but it's hard to focus on two things at the same time with something like Sumerian. All right. I'm not seeing anything here going, so look at this here. See, either Ugu Na is claim, and then Tuku is have claim. No one has any claim against him. Yeah, so either this is claim, this is not have, no one has anything, any claim against him, or it's a conjoined noun verb that's just not listed in Cohen or that I'm just missing. But either way, that seems to make sense given everything. So I think we'll wrap it up on, well, let's take a quick look here at the, okay, Seal inscribed the name Urdun the merchant was lost. In accordance with the wordly assembly, the herald has sounded the horn through all the streets. No one now has any claim against him. But yeah, I guess we'll cap it here, and yeah, because I can't think of anything else to add. That's the only point that I really missed here. But yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next video.